Right now, the global herbal medicine market is worth over $150 billion. And the fastest growing segment of that market is not something new. It is something ancient. Researchers are quietly publishing studies on plants that healers in the biblical world use without laboratories, without clinical trials, without peer review, just thousands of years of careful observation. And what they keep finding is this: those ancient healers were right. Scripture was not speaking in metaphors when it described healing plants. It was describing a pharmacy, one that was already fully stocked. And today, I am going to open 7 of those drawers for you. Stay with me until number 1, because the herb that closes this list appears at the most dramatic moment in all of Scripture, and the science behind it will stop you completely. In Ezekiel 47, verse 12, God describes trees whose leaves are for healing, not decoration, not symbol, healing. If God embedded medicine into creation itself, then understanding that medicine is not optional for those of us who take His word seriously. These are 7 of those medicines. Let us begin. Number 7, turmeric, the golden healer. The ancient trade routes that carried spices from India through the Middle East were not built for flavor alone. Turmeric traveled those same roads that Abraham walked. Its active compound curcumin has now been studied in over 3,000 peer-reviewed papers. Researchers have examined its effect on inflammatory markers, cellular aging, and neurological protection. Every civilization that encountered this root reached the same conclusion. It belonged in medicine, not occasionally, daily, added to warm water with black pepper. The piperine increases absorption by 2,000%. The ancient world did not know that number, but they knew it worked. Number 6, aloe vera, the plant of immortality. Egyptian records called it the plant of immortality. And when Nicodemus prepared Jesus for burial in John 19, verse 39, he brought 75 pounds of aloe and myrrh. That quantity was not accidental. That was a statement about value. Modern research has identified over 75 active compounds in aloe vera, including asamanin, a polysaccharide studied for its immune-modulating properties. Drink 2 ounces of pure inner-leaf aloe gel in water each morning. Not the processed version, not the cosmetic version. The real thing. What Nicodemus carried to that tomb was worth its weight in gold. Now we understand why. Number 5, mint, the forgotten tithe. In Matthew 23, verse 23, Jesus mentions mint by name. The Pharisees were tithing it, meaning they considered it valuable enough to give a tenth of to God. That detail is easy to read past. Do not read past it. Mint contains rosmarinic acid, a compound studied for its antihistamine and anti-inflammatory properties, particularly in respiratory and allergy research. It also contains menthol, one of the most studied natural compounds for sinus congestion and bronchial relief. Steep fresh mint in boiling water for 10 minutes. The Pharisees tithed this plant. That tells you exactly how valuable it was. Number 4, wormwood, the bitter healer. Stay with me here, because this one surprises people. Wormwood appears in Lamentations and Proverbs, always associated with bitterness, always associated with consequence. But here is what most people miss entirely. The most bitter plants in Scripture are often the most medicinally powerful. Wormwood contains artemisinin. In 2015, the Nobel Prize in Medicine was awarded specifically for research into artemisinin's therapeutic properties. The ancient world used wormwood for parasitic infections and digestive distress. Modern science has now confirmed exactly why it worked. The bitterest herbs in God's pharmacy were never punishment. They were medicine in disguise. Number 3, saffron, the most expensive medicine on earth. Saffron is mentioned in Song of Solomon 4, verse 14, in a list of the most precious plants in existence. Today it remains the most expensive spice on earth by weight. But here is what the market does not tell you. Researchers have been studying saffron's active compound crocin for its effects on mood, cognitive function, and neurological protection. Clinical trials have produced results significant enough that some researchers are now calling it nature's antidepressant. A few strands steeped in warm water for 15 minutes. That preparation appears across Persian, Egyptian, and Hebrew healing traditions simultaneously. 3 civilizations. Same plant, same preparation, same conclusion. Number 2, cedar, the tree of kings. Solomon built the temple of God from Lebanese cedar. God instructed Moses to use cedar in purification rituals in Leviticus 14. This tree appears over 70 times in Scripture, always associated with strength, permanence, and divine favor. Cedar oil contains cedral and digoxin, compounds studied for sedative and anxiolytic properties. Research has also examined cedar compounds for their effect on respiratory inflammation and microbial activity. The tree Solomon chose to house the presence of God also happens to contain compounds that calm the nervous system and protect the lungs. That is not coincidence. That is design. Number 1. Myrrh, the gift that healed, 238 to 305. Think carefully about what the wise men carried. These were not tourists. These were the most educated men of the ancient world. Scholars who had spent decades studying accumulated human knowledge. And from everything available to them, they chose 3 things: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Myrrh has been used medicinally since before recorded history. It appears at the birth of Jesus and again at his crucifixion, offered him on the cross as a pain-relieving compound, which researchers now confirm it contains. Its active compounds, terpenoids, have been studied for antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, and analgesic properties. Some research has examined its potential effects on cancer cell lines, with results that have sustained serious, continued investigation. The wise men did not bring myrrh because it was pretty. They brought it because generations of accumulated knowledge had already proven what it did. Modern science is now reaching the same conclusion they already knew. A small piece of food-grade myrrh resin dissolved overnight in cold water. Drink it on an empty stomach. What the wisest men of the ancient world carried across the desert to lay at the feet of Jesus was not ceremony. It was medicine, chosen deliberately, carried carefully, and backed by a body of research that is still catching up to what they already understood. These 7 herbs have been waiting in Scripture for thousands of years. The science is now catching up, and the knowledge is yours. Do not try all 7 today. Pick one, the one that spoke to you most. Maybe it is turmeric because inflammation has been quietly destroying your quality of life. Maybe it is myrrh because that story stopped you completely. Maybe it is saffron because you've been struggling and nobody told you God already placed the answer in his word. Pick one. Make it tomorrow morning. Your body is God's temple. Paul wrote that as a reality, not a metaphor. What you put into that temple matters. For your energy, your resilience, your purpose. These herbs were placed in his word for a reason. Start today. Start with one. And if this opened your eyes, share it right now with someone who needs to hear it. Hit like, subscribe, and tap the bell. New revelation every week. Welcome to God's Pharmacy. It has always been open.